Hey, good morning, everybody. Getting started here just with a quick introduction. Thanks for being here this morning to our friends from the media, as well as our leaders from Salt Lake County, Salt Lake City, Millcreek, West Valley City, the state of Utah as well, to share some about the 2023-2024 winter overflow shelter plans. Today we'll hear from Gene Hill, who is the Salt Lake County Director of Homelessness and Criminal Justice Reform, followed by Millcreek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini, then West Valley City Mayor Karen Lang, and Salt Lake City Mayor, of course, Aaron Mendenhall, and then State Homeless Coordinator Wayne Niederhauser will close our remarks this morning, and we'll be open for some questions afterwards. So we'll turn it over to Gene Hill.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you all for being here. Mayor Wilson wishes she could be here to express her gratitude today for the mutual determination of so many to have a compassionate plan in place earlier in the year and more encompassing of the needs we saw during one of our snowiest winters in recent history. A plan for a bed for every person who needs one in the coming cold months. We're proud to share that the Salt Lake County Winter Response Plan, created through a task force co-chaired by Mayor Wilson and Mayor Silvestrini, has been submitted to the state for approval. This year, we've come together as state, county, cities, providers, and individuals with lived experience to identify needs and establish potential solutions early enough to address the gaps we have identified in our collaborative process. Our goal is to implement this plan by late October, so we are ready to meet the needs when winter arrives. As the task force works to implement this plan, we are developing a new Code Blue volunteer program through Salt Lake County, along with volunteer training for Code Blue, modeled after our point-in-time count training. This is an opportunity for those in our community to actively be a part of our efforts, and we look forward to sharing more details on how you can do that this fall. When we experience a Code Blue event, which is a weather conditions reported by the National Weather Service with temps 15 degrees or below, or any other extreme conditions, we will conduct street outreach, expedite intake, and activate additional facilities when necessary. And now I'll turn it over to Mayor Silvestrini.
Thank you for coming, everybody. As Mayor Millcreek and President of the League of Cities and Towns, I'm proud of the fact that the elected officials in Salt Lake County have been able to come up with a robust winter overflow plan earlier this year than ever before. We started working on this as soon as the ink was dry in the legislation that revised what we were going to deal with this winter. The plan that we have come up with is far more robust than what we had last year in terms of the number of beds, in terms of different facilities. But I want to stress the fact that the mayors in Salt Lake County understand this is not a victory celebration today. This is not a victory lap. We still have a lot of work to do. We particularly have a lot of work to do in finding the funding that's necessary to implement this plan, and we are going to work with our other cities in Salt Lake County, with Salt Lake County and Mayor Wilson, and with the state of Utah to try to get this done. I really want to express appreciation to the mayors and all the cities in Salt Lake County for their efforts in putting this plan together. This is a collaborative effort. We had participation from a number of communities. I want to thank Mayor Wilson, particularly as co-chair of the committee that I served on with her, to try to put this plan together, and our great partners at the state of Utah and the Coalition to End Homelessness. A lot of the service providers were really instrumental in giving us input and feedback, and then we had some experience from what we did in Millcreek last year with the temporary overflow shelter that informed what we were doing this year. So, and I also want to point out that Mayor Lang of West Valley's contribution to this effort, and while there are still some specifics that we need to resolve with respect to funding, everybody in this community, including Mayor Lang, have stepped up in this way. So I'd like to now turn this time over to Mayor Karen Lang from West Valley City. Karen?
Thank you, Mayor Silvestrini. It is our strength is caring for the unsheltered, and in each of us working together and continuing to do our best to serve this community. Caring for those experiencing homelessness is a statewide concern. And in West Valley City, we look after our neighbors, and we especially take care of them on those bitter nights and days. So I look forward to working with the coalition to move forward with this project, and I appreciate all the support and help we've had from other mayors and from the state on this issue. And I'll now turn the time over to Mayor Mendenhall. Thank you.
I'm so thankful to my fellow mayors, Mayor Jenny Wilson of Salt Lake County, of course, Mayor Silvestrini, who co-chaired this work, Mayor Lang, and many other mayors who helped to create the earliest plan in our county's history for winter shelter that is inclusive of the voices of every mayor of this county who participated. The legislature's leadership, the state's leadership with Wayne Niederhauser, has evolved dramatically. And the fact that we are standing here at the beginning of August with a plan that has now been submitted to the state of Utah is evidence of that partnership, of what collaboration can look like. And it also is reflective, as Mayor Silvestrini mentioned, of the fact that this is an evolving situation. And the funding from the legislature happened before our most recent point in time count data came out. And the work that's been happening has been an evolution of what's happening on our streets. And so the details are not being revealed today, but will be revealed after the state has reviewed the plan. And we'll leave Wayne Niederhauser to tell you about what that timeline looks like. But the beds that will be safe spaces would not have existed without the partnership of mayors across this county and the leadership of some of the mayors who are here today, Mayor Silvestrini and Mayor Lang in particular, and Mayor Wilson, who couldn't be here with us today. Last year, the plan was only from 7 p.m. until about 7 in the morning. The proposal that's being submitted to the state this year is for 24-hour shelter. And this, we know that this is winter temporary shelter is not the permanent solution. We are also working on parallel tracks on those permanent solutions of permanent supportive housing with wraparound services. We have to do all of this work in tandem, and we have to do it together. It wasn't many years ago that we stood rather alone as a capital city, demanding that more shelter space be created, asking for partners desperately to come to the table with us. Today I stand here as the fourth person to speak, and certainly not the most important one speaking today, because the partnership is here and the collaboration year-round is happening. And with that, I'll turn it over to Wayne Niederhauser, State Homeless Coordinator.
Thank you, Mayor Mendenhall, and thanks to all the mayors in Salt Lake County. Well done over this summer. It started in April, and today we're receiving the plan from the county and from the cities, and we appreciate so much the cooperation, the partnership, the collaboration. I say this a lot, and I'll just say it again, I have a real estate background. Most important elements of real estate, the three most important elements of real estate are location and location and location. The three most important parts of us being successful is coordination, coordination, and coordination. And we appreciate so much this partnership. I think we are making great advances every year. This seems to get a little bit earlier and a little bit better, and it's because of the partnership. So thank you, Salt Lake County, and thanks to all the cities in the county. We now will have 10 days to review that plan. Our office, our team will review that. We actually have 15 days, but we want to report to the State Homeless Council on the 10th. So we'll report our findings on the plan on the 10th of August at our council meeting, and just wanted to make everyone aware of that. But again, thank you to the county and thank you to the cities.
Wayne, when
We receive it today. It's due on the 1st, and yes. So,
Okay, so you got it this morning?
yeah.
Why not release the details of the plan now?
There's a lot of details that need to be reviewed, and we want to take some time to review that.
So how many beds is this going to be?
We have 10 days to review that plan, and we'll report on our findings on the 10th.
This might not be a question for you, but in the plans last year, we heard a lot of, overworked staff, short-staffed in these shelters. So for these overflow days, is there a plan to increase pay or a plan related to the workers at these places?
Again, I have to say that we have 10 days to review the details of that plan, and we'll give our report on that plan on the 10th.
So for those who submitted the plan, why not release the details of it here? One of the mayors answer that.
So I hope that members of the public can appreciate the fact that some of the issues that we're dealing with are real property issues, and sometimes those are difficult to deal with once they're public. The other thing about this is that there are elements of this plan that depend upon funding streams, and I don't want to promise something that we can't deliver because we don't line the funding up. So that's why we're being kind of conservative about this. But all I can tell you is that we are, as I said, this isn't a victory lap. This is a step along the way, and hopefully the state could say, we don't even accept this plan. I'm hoping that they won't, but I think it's a good plan. And like I said, it's more robust than what we had last year, far more robust, if we can fund it. But I also don't want to create a stir in a particular neighborhood where we may not actually be doing something because we don't have the funding. And this is a really hard thing for us to do. I know that everybody wants to know the details, but sometimes we have to line up the real property aspects and do that in a kind of a confidential way, and the funding is the same way. And we are combing the earth of the state of Utah for that funding and working with the state and the county to do that. And if everything works out, we will have a better program than we had last year. But there are still elements of this that we have to work on. So.
Mayor, how many beds is it?
We're hoping we have 600 beds overflow plus additional 200 beds code blue.
And it's, so 600 overflow beds are all going to be temporary beds for this winter?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
600 overflow beds specifically, they're all going to be temporary beds?
That's correct. Well, let me say this. Parts of the plan are more permanent than others if things work out. And there are some processes going on in municipal governments across our county, and they have to all fall in place, like approvals from planning commissions and things like that. If that all falls into place, some of the solution here will be more permanent than other parts of it. So, yeah, some parts of it might be essentially permanent additional supportive housing, but it's tough to know what exactly will fall in place until those processes play out and until the funding is in place.
You talked about not wanting to create a stir in neighborhoods, but what opportunities should neighbors have to know of a possible shelter coming into their neighborhood before it actually happens?
Well, I can't speak for every one of these places. I can tell you what we did in Millcreek, which is as soon as we identified the location, we were out in the community with a neighborhood meeting. Some of you may have attended that. It was a fun time for me. But we answered people's questions to the extent that we had information, and I'm assuming that kind of process will play out again. Our goal is to have public buy-in. And let me say this about our experience in Millcreek last winter to folks that may be concerned about that in their neighborhoods. If this is done right, and I'm proud of the fact that I think we did it right in Millcreek. We had additional police to make sure that we didn't have problems outside the shelter with what we call satellites selling drugs and things like that. We had a rules-based regime where people felt safe in that shelter. Some of the same people came back again and again and again, and so I'm confident that there will be public engagement at the right time. But I don't, we don't want to freak people out, or also the other problem here is that we don't have all the answers yet. It's tough to get up in front of a public body and not have the answers to questions, which are legitimate questions, and so it has to ripen a little bit. We have to learn a little bit more. We need to know exactly what we're going to be doing. So if the plan works out, it's going to be better than last year. But there's still, like I said, there's still a lot of work to be done here, and we intend to do it.
What cities are these beds going to be in?
That's part of the plan, and I am not going to talk about that today. Let me say this. I mean, we have planning commission meetings. We have other things that are going on. I don't want to disrupt that by taking away the opportunity for the elected leaders in these communities to approach their constituents before people hear about things at a press conference.
You talk a lot about collaboration between the mayors and elected officials and our bodies of elected officials. Has there been input from the unsheltered population that this will affect the most? Last year there was a lot of concerns about transportation, access to beds, and kind of the breakdown of communication of whether those beds were reserved.
Yeah, so on the committee that worked on this, we had mayors, we had staff from some of the service providers, but we also had people with lived experience in being unsheltered who helped give us input with respect to this process. So our effort, we tried to be inclusive and to listen to the folks that have experienced this before so that we can serve them better.
Why are we doing a news conference on a plan we won't talk about?
Because today is the day that we're submitting the plan to the state, and then they get a chance to review it. So this is a milestone, but our work isn't done yet.
And Wayne, what happens if you don't approve the plan? Then what?
So the statutory language says that if we don't approve the plan or think that there's some that it's not sufficient, so to speak, then the state then can take over and has certain preemptive abilities and powers to execute a plan for the winter. But it would be our intent, I can tell you today, that we're not going to take over it, even though there might be some things that need to be the state is going to be part of the execution of the plan. We already know that, and so we're going to take the plan we've been given, and if we have to enhance it in some ways, we're going to partner with the county and with the cities to execute that plan.
Last question, guys.
You mentioned the deadline was August 1st, and then I've also heard this is the earliest that they've submitted a plan. Was that moved up for specific reasons based on last year's?
Exactly. It was too short of a window for the state to review it and to have to implement a plan if they had to in a month. But we did, open up shelter by November 1st, which is earlier than we'd ever done it before. But it was still really hard to do that, so we've moved it up a month, and the deadline is today.
Wayne, what was the rationale behind making the threshold for code blue 15 degrees and not freezing or another blue temperature?
Great question. So we took some language from other states in 499. House Bill 499 was the bill. We looked at other states, what they've been doing. 15 degrees was from a state, it was Maryland actually, language that they had. Some may argue, well, why didn't you put it at 25 or 20? Well, we figured that the regular winter overflow plan should address normal winter nights. Extraordinary nights would be 15 and below. And those would be addressed with, the additional needs would be addressed in a code blue plan. So winter overflow should address every situation down to 15 degrees. Extreme weather, big snowstorms, low temperatures below 15, they would be addressed by code blue.